Okay, wonderful. Welcome, everyone. I'm the little MC here tonight. Going to open up. So glad you all are here. I think you're just going to love this. We are Jeff David Gamble from My Leadership Network and Bess McCarty with MLM Millionaire Club School for Network Marketers, partnering to bring you this generic training, Quick Start Basics for Network Marketers, the 10 core commitments, what you need to know to build your business the fastest. Our purpose, to help people grow, to educate, empower, and equip entrepreneurs and create independent servant leaders. Thank you for being here. We know that's why you're here too. This training is crucial for success. I found Jeff and his methods a little while back. We've known each other for 4 years. I've always searched to bring the very best to my students and clients in the school, the MLM Millionaire Club. When I found Jeff's methods, I had to change everything. I had to change everything and upgrade. It was worth it. The results that we're getting, I'll share some stories with you in a little bit. Jeff has personally recruited over 500 people, has a team all over the states. I forget all the figures, Jeff. I'll let you tell your story, but he is someone to follow. Take notes, get your pen and paper out, turn off the TV, apps, close the door, make sure the kids and dogs are fine, and pay total attention, because you will want to, I believe you, like me, I'll be taking notes too and learning a lot as we go. I think that you're going to want to absorb this and pick maybe your several favorite things to start putting into your practice into your business right away. I'll turn this over to Jeff.
Awesome, fantastic. Well, thank you for that. I'm going to go ahead and hit mute so just we don't have any reverb, because sometimes that happens, and just wave at me if something needs to happen or change, and we'll open that back up. But I appreciate it. Like Beth said, we started a conversation 4 years ago. She had made a comment on Eric Worre's page. Eric Worre, Network Marketing Pro, one of the top teachers in the industry. Basically, she asked a question. I answered it back, but rather than answering it just on the page, I actually direct messaged her and said, hey, this is, my thought on this particular subject. And what interestingly happened is we just started this dialogue back and forth. And you talk about, well, how do you start relationships with people? One of which is be interested in them. One of which is just start the conversation about what they're already talking about. And we just started this back and forth, and eventually that led to a phone call. I remember, actually, I was like, man, it seems like I've known this person for a long time online. We should actually talk. And I remember the first time we talked, I kind of knew. I don't know if I've actually told Bess this. I actually thought from that day, and I think I probably told Brandy, I said, I'm going to end up working with her. I knew it from the first time we talked. I just didn't know how it was going to come together. The more we had conversations and, went back and forth, just talking about the industry and what teaching and what training and what methodology, we found out we had a ton of common, the massage business, the holistic business. The more we talked, the more I found that it was somebody that I wanted to work with, and we just talked about how to combine what we were doing. Eventually we got into details, semantics about how to go about building a business. And what I did is I just shared with her what I found worked. And, she talks about, a little bit about my story, and I'll kind of give you like my quick Dun & Bradstreet. At 17 years old, I actually saw network marketing from my previous girlfriend's parents. I won't go into how I saw it, but that's for a story for another time. But I did see it. And I don't want to be funny, but I wanted to punch my guidance counselor in the face when I saw it, because I was like, I had never heard how network marketing worked. And I was like, I didn't know that you could be an employee, or there was another way to be self-employed, or there was another way to make money in business, and there was a way to make money as an investor. I had kind of figured out that people made money. By 17, I figured out people made money different ways, because I remember driving past the nice neighborhood. I don't know if you have that where you're at, the nice neighborhood. My mom was like, well, for those people who do well, they're on that side of town. They're in that neighborhood. They're on the other side of the tracks. And I was like, well, what do they do that we're not doing? I remember asking that question. What are they doing that we're not doing? And Mom was like, oh, well, they're, I heard the general stuff where they were lucky and they were privileged and the silver spoon and all these things that had nothing to do with what it really took to actually get into that neighborhood. But it was mainly, ignorance more than anything of what other people were doing. So what I'm also going to do, I will here in a second. So what eventually happens is at 17, I have no contacts. I have no experience in the industry. I have no car and I have no job. But I see network marketing. I'm like, I am absolutely going to do this. And at the age of 17, I signed up. I read, as I'm reading the application, I find out you need to be 18, so I just changed my age. I hadn't read the book on personal development yet that you were supposed to always tell the truth. I was like, I had come from the understanding that you were supposed to get it done. So I was going to get in and get it done. I ended up talking my sponsor at the time into coming over to their house, and I actually went with them to the open house. My girlfriend at that time was very upset that I was going, simply because she was not interested in the business, but because she was interested in me, she was coming with me. And I sat in the room, and what I realized is everybody in the room was older than me by at least 10 to 15 years. I was the youngest person for sure. I was the worst dressed for sure. Some of you are like, you're still the worst dressed. And in some cases, that's true. But I work in the massage holistic business, so a lot of times it's shirts and T-shirts. You'll see us in tank tops and sweatpants all day. And when somebody's like, well, you can't make, I was told early on, well, you can't make, six figures. You can't make $300,000 in sweatpants. And we've succeeded those numbers now, so that you really can. But you do want to dress for success. I'm just kidding about that. But that was just kind of my story. I saw the first company I got in. I learned a little bit. Eventually, some things happened. I got into network marketing again. I don't know if you've been in more than once, but this particular class or call is for people. If you've been in more than once, I'm going to give you hope. If you're in the very first company, I'm going to give you hope because you can hopefully avoid some of the things that I did. Eventually, we went on. We did, Bess mentioned, recruiting 500 people. I've done that. We've built 2 teams over 5,000 people. The previous company that I was in, we put somewhere in the neighborhood, I think it was just over 11,000 people in 7 countries. When I left, when I walked away, the last snapshot, and I have this on my phone, I think I sent it to Bess, the last snapshot I have is $10.5 million in banked volume for that company. So we made some decent money. I haven't made millions and millions of dollars personally in the industry, but I've created millions and millions of dollars inside of companies. We've created 6-figure ring earners on the team. That's kind of been almost better to me, that we've been able to create people who have out-earned us. A $480,000 earner on the team. Was it because of everything I did? No, but I knew him and helped him in a previous company. When he came, we kind of all assembled in a new company. He took off and just crushed it. So I'm super happy about that for him. But now it's your time. And what I want to get into before we get started on the material is I also want to introduce Brandy. Brandy is my girlfriend, and we just graduated from Trinity School of Natural Health with our doctorate of naturopathy, which is basically holistic doctor. We look at everything from the natural side of things. So if you wonder, who we are as people, who we are as philosophy, we believe in health, we believe in fitness, we believe in doing the right thing at the right time with the right people. We do believe that there's 3 pieces to life, meaning there is the physical, there is the mental, and there is the spiritual. We're not here to convince you of anything. But just to give you some skills and give you some things that work. And we're going to get right into that. And before we get into the actual physical 10 things, what I want to do is kind of set this up. And what I want to set this up with is if we just give you the 10 with where you're currently at, the unfortunate part is you're going to add in a lot of the previous things you've done. You're going to add in the previous experiences. You're going to add in your previous programming. You're going to add in your previous philosophies. And that stuff can kind of mess up the 10 things. So what I want to do is just take a minute, and I want to preface all of this by giving you a couple things that will help you see the 10 core the right way. And what I mean by the right way is kind of the pure way. And what I want you to do, if you can, with me, is number 1, we want to kind of give you this information. But before we do, we're going to make a disclaimer. If any of this information is in direct conflict with your company or in direct conflict with your upline, here's the thing. We are not going to be in your household tomorrow night necessarily helping you build your business unless you're part of, another thing. But in saying that, if you don't have a person that you're working with, if you don't have a direct philosophy, because some companies just don't have this training set up, use the best of what we teach inside of what you already have, and get rid of anything that is a conflict. That's what I would say. But I always tell people this is your business. You are in business for yourself, but not by yourself. But it is your business. You get to make some decisions here, as long as you stay within the law. And that's my disclaimer for tonight. Next. So what this starts out with is how you think about business. And what I found is there's three kind of thoughts about business. There's three mindsets inside of network marketing. The first mindset is, and I use actually some words from Eric Worre, the poser mentality, or what I would call the lottery mentality. Some people see network marketing like a lottery. And it's almost like when they see the opportunity, they get a card, and they see six faces on that card, their scratch off, and they go to their first friend and they say, hey, would you be interested in blah, 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 blah business? And that person's like, no. And then they go to the Joe, and Joe's like, hey, I'm not interested either. And then Sally, and then, Deborah, and then Dawn, and then Tanisha. And by the time they're done, that's their six people. They scratch them off. They don't want to do it. Therefore, this company does not work. And nobody can make money, and it's never going to happen, and I'm negative, and I'm done, and now I'll go into a new company. And the funny thing is I've watched people join 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 different companies, and they use this scratch-off card every time. They go back to the exact same people with the exact same contact and methodology, and it doesn't work again. Meanwhile, there are people in every single company that they've been in that are making hundreds of thousands of dollars, in some cases millions of dollars. Here's what I found. If there's somebody inside that company that's making $1 million, then you can too. You have to find out what they did to get there. And here's the unfortunate part about direct sales. And I'm going to say, here's the thing. I'm just completely blunt. Bess is kind of like, sometimes you're too blunt. Sometimes I tell the truth, and sometimes the truth hurts, but the truth will set you free. But first, my friend said it'll probably piss you off. It'll probably upset you a little bit. And that's unfortunate, but what we want to do is give you the truth so that way you can make the right decisions with the information. And sometimes the things being said in the front of the room, and sometimes the things that are being promoted inside of direct sales aren't necessarily, what do I want to say? They're not necessarily they're great for sales to get you in, but they're not necessarily great to build off of those philosophies. So I'll come back to that in a minute. Number 2, you go from the lottery mentality to the amateur mentality. They get in, they want to make money, but now they're like looking for the one secret. People think there's one secret inside this industry that'll make it all happen. And what I can tell you is exactly what John Maxwell said. He was at a seminar. There were approximately 20,000 people there, and he did this whole speech on leadership for like 3 hours. And afterwards, he said, anybody that wants to buy a book and hang out, I will sign your book. This gentleman came up and said, hey, I would want you to sign my book, but Mr. Maxwell, I have a question. He's like, I know you talked for 3 hours about all this stuff about leadership, but I have one question for you. What is the one thing that I need to know about leadership to be a leader? And John sat and he thought for a minute, and the idea, he's like, the perfect thing popped in his head. He's like, the one thing you need to know about leadership is there's more than one thing about leadership. That was his lesson. And the same is true inside of direct sales. Some people think that you're going to be able to build a multi-million-dollar business because of one method, one email is going to do it. Like, we're not telling you the special email to send out. One text message will make you a millionaire, and we're just not telling you. You just haven't learned it yet. What I can tell you is there's many skills that go together doing this, and this business is both a science and an art. And Beth and I have talked about this. This is just my belief. There's a science to achievement. The science is there's a certain things in a certain order that need to be done. Now, most people, what I found through coaching and teaching, most people never figure out those certain things to do. And then there's the art to it. The art is knowing the timing of when to do it. Not just how to do it. How to do it is a skill, but when to do it. There is a timing to it. And then the third thing is professionals, realistic expectations, a realistic methodology to be able to do things. And that's going to take you sitting down, and here's the commitment, is I would be willing, like, and this is just, if we could make a contract tonight, this is starting July 1st. If we could make a contract that I said, if you will attend all 52 classes between now and next year this time, if you could attend all of them, what I could pretty much say is by the end of that 12 months, you will know how to do this, and you will have insight that the average person does not have inside the industry. You will have an advantage that nobody else has, and you will have insight that nobody else has, which means you will have leadership that no one else has. It's pretty simple to get in front of everybody because most people are unwilling to do the easy things that it takes. And what we're going to do is talk tonight about the easy things. But before we get started necessarily with those 10, we're going to kind of go through this again. So you have to think like a business owner. And what does that mean? Some people don't even know what thinking like a business owner means. Here's an easy explanation. The buck stops here, 100% responsibility. It will, until you take 100% responsibility for your business, it will be very hard for you to build a business. The reason being is a lot of people say, well, the company didn't. The product didn't. My upline didn't. My sponsor didn't. My team call didn't. There's a lot of people point all these fingers of why it didn't work. Every time you point your finger, there's usually several pointing back at you. The buck stops here. You have to be 100% responsible. Think like a networker. And what I want to talk about, before we get started on the 10, there are 5 laws to duplication. And you have to know these 5 laws before you know the 10, because if you don't know the 5 laws before you know the 10, you will do the 10 without going through the 5 laws. And if you break the 5 laws, you go into network marketing jail, basically. And network marketing jail does not let you succeed. That's unfortunate, but that's just the way it works. And then last, you have to think like a leader. And you say, gosh, there's a lot of stuff to learn here. You know, I have to think like a business owner. I have to think like a network. I have to think like a leader. And here's what I can ask you. Here's the trade-off. If you do this the right way, what if you could get into a situation where you make $1,000 a month residually and you never, ever, ever have to pick up the phone to get that $1,000? It just comes in because of this system you've built. What if you could make $1,000 a week? You know, what would $1,000 a week do? You know, and eventually you could get to the point where you make $1,000 a day. When you make $1,000 a day, or you know, $250,000, that would be okay. What if you made $1,000 before you got up every day? It was already pre-deposited into your account. What would that do for you? Would that change where you lived? Would that change what you ate? Would that change the people you're around? Would that change geography? Would that change education? Would you go back to school? Is there something else you want to learn? Is there another area that you want to work in? Here's the thing. Some people's goal is not to do this, to sit on a beach and do nothing. Some people's goal is like they're trapped in their job. They want a different education. They want a whole new way of doing things, but they feel trapped because I've got friends that make so much money at their job, they feel trapped because they can't go get a normal job. They have to get a specified job because they have specified knowledge, which means they have to replace a giant income to be able to get out to go get another one. And they don't like that. What if we could free up all your time? What if at the holiday season you were just able to give? I heard this really cool guy, and what he was able to do is when he first started, he always wanted to do this. He always wanted to get envelopes. Starting in December, he always wanted to get envelopes and put money in the envelope like a thank you. And he would look for people who were doing great things in life, you know, anybody who was nice, anybody who complimented, anybody who did the right thing. And what he did is he used his red envelopes and he put money in them, and he was able to give them out, you know, to people who helped him, you know, at the gas station, at the bus stop, because he was in a city at the time. And what he did is eventually he got to the point where he had an extra $150, and if you do the math on this, if you put $5 away, he had enough money, $5 a day, to basically be able to hand out every day for the month of December. 30 days is basically what he did. He went out every day and he handed this out. And he thought, wow, that was so cool. And he's like, next year I'll work to put $10 in that envelope. And the following year he worked to put $20 in that envelope. And then it got to $100. Now he's able to give $1,000, $1,000 in 30 envelopes. He gives away 30 grand. You know, what would that do for you? We're talking about changing lives. That's what we're talking about. I mean, a really cool thing. So how you think has a lot to do with this. And the reason why this is tough is really simple. We talked about the cash flow quadrant earlier. You have employees, which is where 80% of the people sit. Then you have the self-employed. the people who say, I'm going to do this and figure it out on my own. That's about 15%. Then you have the business owners, which is a smaller percentage, about 4%. And then you have 1% of the population that makes their money from investments. Now, the reason why this is so difficult to build, and this will make a lot of sense when you think about specialized knowledge, is everything you've been taught up till now has trained you to be in the employee category. Everything. Every class you've taken, every show you've watched, every newspaper you've read, every magazine you've read, every conversation you've pretty much had up until now, unless you sat back and bought Robert Kiyosaki books from the time you were born, or unless Tony Robbins was speaking inside your house starting out, most of us don't have that, obviously, unless these people were there, most of the programming we get, and what do I mean by programming? Our mom, our dad, whoever raised us, our brothers and sisters, the people, our friends that were around us growing up, our neighbors that were around us growing up, the schools we went to, in most cases the churches, the synagogues, the mosques we went to. They were programming us, and they were talking about this idea of becoming an employee, going to school, getting good grades, education's everything. You know, I had a friend of mine that said, education is something nobody can ever take it away from you. I was like, well, if it's worthless, why would I want to keep it? In some cases. My mom's a school teacher. My dad's a college professor, so I joke with people about education all the time. Don't think that I don't think that education is not important. Education is important, but education in the right thing is more important. So programming your philosophy. So your programming leads into your philosophy, which is how you decide what goes on in the world and how you think about it. That goes into your identity. So your programming and your philosophy is going to have a lot to do with your identity. Your identity has a lot to do with your thinking. Your thinking has a lot to do with your attitude about things, how you feel, and that's going to have a lot to do with how your actions are. So if you don't kind of understand this filter of what's happening, you start repeating the wrong mistakes, but you don't even know. Have you ever done this? You're doing something wrong and you don't even know it until somebody points it out, and you're working hard at doing it. I did this for years. I went in contacting people the wrong way for years. I went in presenting to people the wrong way for years. I followed up wrong for years. I thought I was doing what they said to do in the 10 core. But what I found out was, because my programming, my philosophy, and my thinking and my identity was wrong, I was acting the wrong way, and I didn't even know it. I thought I was on track until somebody pointed it out, and they're like, no, that's not exactly right. I would read this book. And that's what we're talking about here. So that's the change you have to make. It's mainly up here. 80% of your success inside of direct sales is going to be in the 8 inches between your 2 ears. It's unfortunate, right? Because I didn't want to hear that when I first saw this either. Your programming. So here's how you change your programming. What you listen to, what you watch, what you read, and the people you're around. A lot of you have heard this before. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Jim Rohn said that. Actually, a lot of people say that, but Jim Rohn was the one quoted saying it. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you want to get around leadership, if you want to get around people who can crush this, if you want to get around people who can make money and help you, you have to get around the type of people who are building. How do you think? So here's a couple things. This is, before we get into the 10 core, here's 5 things. You must be core to make this work. You must be core. You have to do all 10 to get all people to do all 10. Second, you must start people the right way. If you don't get people started the right way, if you break the laws of duplication that we're going to go over here in a minute, it won't work. You must obey the laws of duplication. That's number 3. So number 1 is be core. Number 2, you must start people right. Number 3, you must obey the laws of duplication. Number 4, you must protect your team. And number 5, you must learn the growth cycle. So number 1 again was you must be core. Number 2, you must start people right. Number 3, you must obey the laws of duplication. Number 4, you must protect your team. And number 5, you must learn the growth cycle. What is the growth cycle? We're going to talk about that here in a second. So commitment is an obligation that restricts freedom of action. You can't do it anyway. You have to do it the right way. There's a science to achievement. You can't go in and just try anything. Just because we say go out and talk to people, can you put any liquid inside of a gasoline tank and make your car drive? Obviously not. Even though oil is close, oil is not the right thing. So being core, there's 3 rules to being core. Number one, are you doing everything? So 3 rules to being core. Are you doing everything? Number 2, are you being consistent and persistent doing it? Not doing it 1 week and then doing the hokey pokey the next. Not doing it 1 week and then doing the Macarena the next. Not doing it 3 weeks in a row and then doing the electric slide. Doing it consistently over and over and over again. And these 10 things that I'm going to talk about in the 10 core, they're so easy. You will actually question whether these are the right 10. I questioned whether they were the right 10 until I started doing them and I watched it work. And number 3, are you leading and teaching your team to do these things? What are you teaching? Think about this. If you're not doing it and they're only watching what you do and you're not doing it, then they're not doing it because they don't even know what to do. I was told a long time ago, what you say is irrelevant if what you do is different. I don't even know who said that, but it was really good. So I know that's a quote because I normally don't come up with brilliant things to say like that. I've normally read them or heard them or seen somebody else in an event say it. So sometimes you'll be like, man, Jeff just said something really amazing and cool. It's usually not me. I just have a photographic memory. Sometimes I lost the film and I can't remember where I heard it from. So number 2, getting people started right. There's 3 things to getting people started right. Here's the questions people ask. And these are 3 questions that you need to ask yourself. And people sitting on the other side when they get started, they're going to ask themselves, can I do what you just did? If you have some elaborate thing that you're going to run people through to get started, like you have to throw a party at your house and you have to clean up your front room and you have to throw all the chips in the other room and you have to, wash the carpet and get a new rug and buy new furniture and make sure you have a 46-inch or above plasma screen TV in your front yard or in your front living room, and you have to have seats for 65 people and you have to have parking outside. This is what I ask. Can I do what that guy just did? Because if I can't do what that guy just did, this will not duplicate, this will not move away from me, and I cannot make money. And you have to ask yourself that question when you're in this business. When you're being told something, you have to ask yourself, can I do what this person just did? Is this duplicatable? Number 2, do I have the time to do what you just did? So if we're getting started and it took 62 hours, and it takes, I love this, people are like, oh, I'm in this company, and it takes 3 months to get whatever done to be able to get started. And I'm like, that's not duplicatable. It costs X number of dollars and this many licensing and this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, not as duplicatable. I mean, it duplicates, but it takes a long time. Next, am I okay doing what you just did to my friends, family, and neighbors? So what you're saying is do I feel comfortable with this method? Could I turn around and teach it to friends, family, and neighbors and be okay with it? Next. These are the laws of duplication. There are 5 laws to duplication. Number 1, it must work instantly. If what I show you how to do can't work in 45 minutes, then it won't duplicate, then I won't do it. Somebody comes up to me and says, oh my gosh, I found this great way that we can build blah, 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 blog, funnel, network marketing, guru stuff online, and and it only takes this class and $3,000, and you have to buy lead pages and this other program. I've tried all that, by the way. It doesn't duplicate. You will knock yourself right out of the business. Number 2, it must work 10 levels below me. Meaning whatever I start doing, it not only has to work instantly, but it has to work 10 levels down. With somebody, this is number 3, with somebody you don't know. So 10 levels, somebody you don't know is number 3. Number 3, it must work with people you don't know. Number 4, has to work 1,000 miles away. Now think about this. If it has to work 1,000 miles away, that must mean it works when you're not physically there. If it only works when you physically show up, then it doesn't work. And number 5, it must work when an amateur does it to a professional and vice versa. We used to say a GED to a PhD or vice versa. Meaning, somebody who just came out of school, they're kind of like, they don't know anything, they haven't had any success, and they have to have a method to be able to contact the doctor and it work, and the doctor has to be able to contact the high school student and it work. That's hard, guys. This list is not easy to do. So when you're building a system that works for everybody, this is the stuff you have to think about. And this is why people screw up, because they'll create a methodology that works within insurance. And all their friends are insurance agents, so it works inside of insurance. But then all of a sudden they can't get past the insurance agents or a programmer. You know, we talked to a programmer, and it worked inside the programmers. But once outside the programmers, it doesn't work. You know, I've got some computer friends that get that. So next. Number 4, and we're almost there. We're almost to the 10. Guys, we're going to cover the 10 so fast you'll shake your head and be like, it can't be that easy. So this is the part that really matters. Protecting your team. There's 3 things to protecting your team. Simple. That's number 1. Easy. That's number 2. Duplicatable. That's number 3. Has to be simple. Has to be easy. Has to be duplicatable. That's how you protect your team. You protect your team from complicated stuff that other people try to get you to do or buy. If you just buy this course that's 90 million years, if it's not basic, it doesn't work. That's what I can tell you. That's why we call this the basic, because it's just basic. Like, you're going to be like, this is basics. But it's the leading up to the basics, teaching you the mindset stuff. That's what's really worth something. Knowing what not to do. I spent a lot of time learning that. A lot of money, too. So here's understanding the growth cycle. There's 4 parts to the growth cycle. Learned activity. Or learned knowledge. I'm sorry, learned knowledge. Learned knowledge. That's where you sit on this call and you pick some things up that you're like, oh, wow, that's something I need to do. Number 2, activity knowledge. That's when you go out and mess it up. And here's what I can tell you. You're going to mess some of this up, but we're going to show you a way to mess it up where you'll make money while you mess it up, which is good. Which may be different than how you've messed it up before, because sometimes you've messed it up and it's cost you money. We're going to show you how to mess it up and make money and laugh about it. Number 3, modeling knowledge. Not like pretty modeling, makeup, runway, lights. Modeling knowledge, like finding somebody who's doing it right and doing what they do, saying what they say, at the tones that they say it to produce the results that they get. And then number 4 is teaching knowledge, learning how to teach it so it works. So number 1 was learning knowledge. Number 2 was activity knowledge. Number 3 is modeling knowledge. And number 4 is teaching knowledge. Now, there's a great book by Ken Blanchard called Leading at a Higher Level. And in the book Leading at a Higher Level, here's what he says. Brand new people need what? They need direction. Exact directions. Not go out and try hard. Exact directions. This is what to say. This is how to say it. And here's what you should hear. If I tell you what to say and when to say it and what you should hear, and you hear something different, then what I know is you are not saying what we talked about, or you're not doing what we talked about. That's how I gauge if it works or not. Because if I've done it 10,000 times, if I've done it here, if I've done it with other people, if I've done it in other languages and other countries, and it's worked in every case, and it's just not working for you, then I know right away there's something you changed. And you don't even know. Here's the problem. You don't even know you changed it. I'm not making fun of you. I'm just saying you changed it. You didn't even know. Why did you change it? You changed it because your programming and your philosophy and your identity and your thinking basically had you change something you didn't even know it. And sometimes we work against ourselves. I don't know if you've ever done that, but I've worked against myself many times. You go from basically this idea of directing people and giving exact directions to coaching. And coaching gets a lot more fun. Coaching's awesome when you can kind of like be supportive and be like, man, you did a great job. Most of the business is basically getting people to believe in themselves. Just getting people to believe in themselves. Telling them they did a great job. That's coaching. Showing them what they did good and saying, let me show you the 5 things you did good, and let me show you the 1 thing you might be able to improve to even get better results. Next, support. Long term, that's what we look for, don't we? Support. Somebody we can say, hey, this is how the week's going. This is what's going on. We're looking for the supporters. And again, it's believing in people and helping people. Being the rock of the organization is what one of my mentors said. He's like, you want to learn how to become that rock of the organization that people can always count on you. They can count on you to be there. They can count on you to show up. They can count on you to do the right thing. They can count on you to do the same thing regardless. And last, delegating. That's the teaching part. That's having somebody else take over. A new market, a new organization. Welcome to the call. So with all that being said, that's kind of the mindset you need. Now what we're going to do is we're going to jump into these 10, and you're going to laugh because some of it's so easy. You're going to be like, I can't believe it's this easy. It can't be this easy. It doesn't even make sense that it's this easy. And here we go. Here's the 10. Number 1, get people started right. And you're like, yeah, I've heard that one. So number 1 of the 10 core is getting people started right. And that's what we're going to do kind of on the back half of this is go over some 1%er tips on getting people started right. Number 2 is basically just getting activated and acclimated to your company and your product and how things work. Some people just don't. Here's the thing. If you can't understand or show people how they can make money and get their money back, then that's probably a lot of the reason why they're not joining you, because you're not congruent, convincing. You're not confident in what you're doing. And once you become confident in what you're doing, it gets a lot easier. People will follow you when you're confident. But when you're like, I don't know how this works. In fact, the person who got me in doesn't know how this works. The two of us can't even figure out how to make it work. Do you want to join us? I mean, you understand why that would be a problem, right? People are like, I don't know why they won't get in. It's because you don't know where you're going. You know, it's like, hey, get on the train. Where's it going? I don't know. When's it going to start going? I don't know. But there's a couple people on here. You want to get on? People are like, no. Like, I'm having a hard time getting people on the train. That would make sense. Number 3, professional development or personal development. Personal development is working on you on the inside. Professional development is working on the skills of the business on the outside. And there's a lot of different things. People like, which personal development book is the best? What I can say is just that's why they call it personal development, is because it's whatever you personally need. Some people need a book on watch. The great part is whatever you're lacking, there's a book on it. If you're like, I'm not organized, there's books on organizing. If you're like, I'm not on time, there's books on being on time. If you're like, I'm not good at reading, you know there's a book on how to read better and faster? There's a book on everything. So whatever you're lacking, but the problem is you have to know that you're missing some stuff. That's what professional development's all about. We're going to give you some suggestions of kind of what to go into, some things to read. Number 4, market daily. We're going to talk about that here in a second. Present daily is number 5. So market daily is number 4. You want to market your business every day. Number 5, because of that marketing, you should be presenting every day. Every day you're working your business. Let's put it that way. Every day you're working business. Some people are going to work their business a handful of days throughout the week. Some people are going to work every day. It's different for everybody. I'm not telling you how many times. I'm just telling you, when you're working your business, you should be presenting. Number 6 is attend a weekly presentation for your company. A weekly presentation. And here's the thing. If your company doesn't have a weekly presentation, you need to start it. Even if you don't know what you're doing, we'll sit down and help you. Right, Bess? And we've done that. Bess has been really good at getting people started to help them. Number 7, attend a training weekly. If your company doesn't have a core training weekly, guess what? We're it. Number 8, attend a regional event, a regional training. Once a month, what I would say is get in front of some people who really know how to do this. Grab a pen, grab a piece of paper, grab a gallon of coffee. I'm just kidding. Not a gallon. Grab a cup and sit there and get the knowledge. Get the knowledge, get the background. And if you can't drink coffee, drink water. Drink something good. Drink something with some vitamins in it. Lemon water, cucumber water, strawberry water. I wouldn't do flavored water, though. The flavored waters usually are bad. They're chemical. And my thing is, here's the rule of thumb. If I can't pronounce it, I won't. That's it. Number 8. So we're at monthly regional. Number 9, attend your team and or company conventions. Your team and or company conventions. Sometimes companies have conventions, sometimes teams have conventions. It just depends. So we'll kind of make that a little bit more generic because this is a generic call. And number 10, create a massive action plan. A massive action plan. So here's what we want to do. It is 9:45. I have just a few minutes to hit on each one of these subjects and give you basically one thing on each one of these subjects. And then what we're going to do is take a break. I'm going to get Bess's insight on this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to focus on some 1% things on the back half of this training on how to get people started right. Because each week we're going to focus on one thing of these 10. And this week we're going to focus on getting people started right. So if you haven't gotten started right, we're going to talk about how to launch yourself and get yourself started right. Number 1, being a product of the product or getting acclimated with the product. Here's what I can say. Basically, get your product, use your product, share your product, and show other people your product. Now, when it comes to personal development or professional development, there's a couple things that I would suggest. I would suggest something initially that kind of gets your mindset right for being in business. And there's a great book called Think and Grow Rich that is kind of like the master's copy. I was not smart enough to comprehend Think and Grow Rich when I first got in, but people talked about it all the time. So I always want to promote it, but I was not there yet. I needed like the Cliff Note version of Think and Grow Rich. And the Cliff Note version of Think and Grow Rich was Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad to me. That was the Cliff Notes to me. That was an easier book to read, an easier book to comprehend. That's where I started, Think and Grow Rich. So if you're smart and you're a great reader, I would get Think and Grow Rich. And there's 2 versions. There's the Old English version with the thou, there, are, then, on, the, this day, that, there. I mean, there's a lot of words that I was just like, I tried to read it and I was like, the first chapter, I was like, my brain was shutting down. And then I got the updated version where it flows a little bit more because that was written a long time ago. So it's just a hint. Those 2 books, Think and Grow Rich or Rich Dad, Poor Dad, really good books. There's a ton of books that we can recommend. I would also recommend starting to listen to an audio. Jim Rohn's Build Your Network Marketing Business is fantastic. And that's on YouTube. Jim Rohn, Build Your Network Marketing Business. It's on YouTube. There's probably 10,000 versions of it online. I would get that and listen to it. In fact, I would listen to it every day for the first 3,000 days you're in the business. No, at least for the first 30. Market daily. What if you did a Facebook Live every single day, Monday through Friday, and just let people know what you were doing? Not telling them to do it, not asking for a sale, just an announcement. Hey guys, real quick, just want to let you know. My name is Jeff Gamble. I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana, and I just got started in an XYZ company, and the product we have is XYZ, and what I wanted to do is just kind of read to you 3 testimonials of people who are using our program and let you know about that. And if you know of anybody who's having these issues, who, you know, could benefit from these products or these services, I want to give you my number and I want to connect with you. And if you have questions, you know, please get a hold of me. So you want to market daily. Next, you want to present daily. Now, a presentation is approximately 10 to 15 minutes. It has an opening, which is, do me a favor. I would like to share with you what I'm doing. So if you run into the right person, you could refer them to me. The easiest, simplest, most duplicatable contact I've ever seen. Do me a favor. Please do me a favor. Can you please give me a favor? I would like to tell you about or share with you what I'm doing. So if you ran into the right person, you could refer them to me. And I found this to work across the board in every language, in every situation, with every person, 1,000 miles away, upside down, backwards, forwards. And you can even mess it up. You can even mess it up. You're like, hey, I would love it if you could give me a referral. I just need a few minutes to tell you about what I'm doing, and it's a favor. I mean, you could reorder it and it still works. Spare time, part-time, full-time. Spare time, you're presenting 1 to 2 times a day. Part-time, 2 to 5 times a day. The days you work, the business. Full-time, 5 times plus. I was told in the business, you are not full-time unless the days you're working your business, you're actually presenting to 5 different people. I was like, wow, that's a different standard. I've never heard that before. I always heard go talk to a few. This is a business way of looking at it. When it comes to a weekly presentation, 4 rules. 4 rules, and they're the same rules for every event. Always show up. That'd be a good rule, right? How do you teach your team to always show up? You always show up. Number 2, always be consistent. Well, if you always show up, are you consistent? Yes. When you do show up, number 3, have a good attitude. So imagine showing up, being consistent at showing up, and then having a good attitude every time you show up. How much better things would work out. Because guess what your people are going to do? They're going to do what they see you do. Number 4, be there a year from now. So number 1, always show up. Number 2, always be consistent. Number 3, always have a good attitude. Number 4, be there a year from now. Then we move on to the training. Now this is going to sound really different than the weekly. There's 4 things. Always show up, always be consistent, always have a good attitude, and be here a year from now. Isn't that different? People are like, this sounds the same. It's easy to do, but it's also easy not to do. And things that are easy to do make millions of dollars, and things that are easy not to do, most people won't do them. Therefore, most people don't get the results. Regional events. It's going to sound different. Always show up, always be consistent, always have a good attitude, and always be there a year from now. Always. Make sure it's in your calendar. Number 9, team conventions. I think you guys probably could do this part for me, but number 1 is always show up. Number 2 is always be consistent. Number 3 is always have a good attitude. And number 4 is be there a year from now. Seems redundant, but have you ever heard 80% of success is showing up? Well, what they don't tell you is it's showing up consistently with a good attitude, and there's 1% things to even showing up and doing that. The last thing is have a massive action plan. Now, here's what a massive action plan is. You know how we said there's spare time, there's part-time, and there's full-time? If you want to launch your business and get it going, what I can tell you is there are methods to get it going faster. And what I want to do is I'm going to take a short break, and I'm going to open up the line. We're going to turn this on. I want Bess to give her insight on this. And one of the things that we want to know right off the bat is, what is your greatest takeaway from this? What is your greatest takeaway? So if you can just write that down if you're taking notes, if you can kind of sketch to the side, what is your greatest takeaway so far? And then what we want to do is go in real quick and do a 10-minute thing on just getting people started right, including yourself. If you need to relaunch your business, we're going to talk about how to do it. Tonight we're going to talk about it in 10 minutes. 10 minutes how to relaunch your business and change everything. And it really is going to be that fast, because if it doesn't work instantly, and it doesn't work, with people you don't know, and it doesn't work, 1,000 miles away, and it doesn't work 10 levels in depth, and it doesn't work, with a PhD to a GED, then it's not duplicatable, and we wouldn't teach it to begin with. It wouldn't even be on here. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Bess.
Okay.
Bess, you there?
Yep. Thanks, Jeff, so much. I took tons of notes again. I learn it deeper each time I've heard it, I don't know, 10 times or so. So I'm learning it deeper each time. I need to do that to embody it. I have a little story to tell. Thank you for that script, that invite script that you guys heard. I'm going to repeat that. hey, can I ask you a favor? I want to let you know what I'm doing so that if you run across the right person, you can refer them to me. How beautiful is that? That script, I just talked with a friend and client today and a student, and she said, oh my gosh, I got your Always Get a Yes book, that's in the script, and she said, oh my gosh, I've been using this and I've got tons of responses that we'll see how many end up in sales. But my partner, Mike, has also been using this book, and he got 6 appointments with that right off. So I was thrilled to hear that, because that's my goal, is to help you guys get results. So I am just thrilled. And another friend has been using the same script, got the book, the Always Get a Yes book, has been using the script, and he said, wow, this is like a 2-for-1. Not only was the person interested in themselves, but they gave me a referral. And that's the whole purpose of it. There's a beauty to it in that it is indirect. It's not about the person, so the person is more likely to say yes. In fact, with 1,000 people that Jeff has tested this with and used this with, he's never gotten a no. It's yes, or later, or maybe, or I'll see, but he's never gotten a no, and he doesn't get objections. How beautiful is that? Because the purpose is to educate. So it's not about the person. They don't have to defend themselves and fend you off and all that kind of stuff. They don't need to say no. And they like to help. They like to see, well, what are you into? It gets their curiosity up, and they want to see. And what you can do then is follow that up with a 10-minute presentation. And we tell you how to do that in the Always Get a Yes book. That is a real quick 30-minute read book that I put together with some of my stuff about active listening and empathy. But even before that, and more important, is that nutshell scripts that are duplicatable, because it works with all 4 personalities, men, women, influential, beginners, experienced, everything. So it's perfectly duplicatable, you guys. And this is after many years that Jeff has condensed this down. And when I found it, I thought, I have to teach this. Oh, my God. One night we talked 4 hours, right? I don't know how late we talked, but and poor Brandy waited there. But, yeah, she goes, yeah, it was 4 hours. So I learned this. Once I did, I couldn't go back. My whole method to teaching in my schools had to change, because I'm committed to bringing the best. So I now teach this, put it in the book, along with how to do a 10-minute presentation, the 5 components to doing that, where you tell your story, the need, the product, the timing, and the comp plan, real brief, simple ways. But I would tell how to do this in the book. Now, many of you, I think most of you already have the book or have this information. But for those who are, you can get the book at $17 and comes with a bunch of stuff with it too. So I'll actually put the link in the chat, or we'll get it to you one way. Just private message Bess McCarty, and I'll get you that book information. However, a lot of you already have the book. And here's something extra that we're adding into these classes. Whoever has paid the $25 a month for these classes gets included in that a membership to the MLM Millionaire Club that has a year's worth of curriculum and tools and business helps and how to handle. Anyway, there's everything that you need to know. It's jammed full of information, and the book is included in that. So that would be a good reason to get the $25 a month membership. If you, I think everyone, anyway, that would be a good reason to get that, because you get the book if you don't. Or you can just get the book separately for those who are on aside from that. Shortcut, economy, efficiency, get there faster, easier, better, farther. That's our goal for you.
Awesome. So with that, guys, I want to talk about getting started right. And what we're going to do is talk about getting people started and how fast they can launch. And it's really, the basics are so easy. It'll kind of blow you away. But when I sit down and I'm getting somebody started, and what it really boils down to is are you going to get started right? Because you want to go teach this to other people, but if you can't do it yourself, what I can tell you is if you don't have the proof in the pudding, people are going to look at you and be really, really skeptical. So what I found is anything that I want to teach, I already do. Anything I want to teach, I already teach people how to do. So I'm not going to teach you how to do something that I'm not doing or I haven't done or I haven't already implemented, because it just wouldn't make sense to me. There's no reason to sell you on techniques and sell you on things that I don't believe works and I wouldn't do personally. So here's the key: 10 people in 10 days. What the goal of launching somebody is to be able to talk to their 10 people in 10 days or less, their first 10. Here's what's simple, easy, and duplicatable. It's simple and easy to talk to 10 people. Now I'm going to tell you the method of talking to 10 people. You are able to present what you do over the phone, and I don't care what the product is. You know, people are like, yeah, but my product, you have to sit down and you have to see and you have to put it on. And I'll just kind of relate this to a lot of people. I was in a skincare company, and the first 40 people that I recruited without product, because the product didn't come in yet. It was a new company. It was just launching. Stuff got back ordered. And I was able to think about this. I was able to recruit 40 people to a skincare company without skincare. So the rule of thumb is, or the common denominator is opportunity. Opportunity always will outweigh everything else. What do people instinctively want to do? They want to get on a train that's moving. They want to work with somebody who's what? Who's clear in what they're doing, clarity, who's confident in what they're doing, and who basically is concise about what they're doing. Part of the problem is not that you don't know the information, it's you don't know how to deliver it in a way where it seems like it's condensed and consolidated and concise. For instance, unfortunately, you know, this happens a lot. Did I read this correctly? I'm not employed. Okay, that's not. I thought that was something else. So, if you want those things, what are you going to do? You're going to contact these 10 people. What contact would I suggest using? This exact contact. Do me a favor. I'd love to be able to share with you what I'm doing. So if you ran into the right person, you can refer them to me. Now, here's what's interesting. You can go back to people you tried to talk to people you messed up, to people that were like, I would never do what you're doing. And part of the reason they never do it is because of the methodology in which you went after them and to talk to them. So you can go back to even them and be like, hey, I really screwed up the first time we talked about what I did, but I need a huge favor. I want to be able to share with you what I'm doing, so if you run into the right person, you could refer them to me. I actually am not interested in recruiting you. You can actually put that in a text message, and here's what I would suggest. I would suggest texting this to 10 people. Now, if you haven't talked to them yet, you don't have to put, I'm not interested in recruiting you on the message. I think you guys understand that. But this is actually, we have this up. I know Bess has actually listed this. We can list this in the comments of, you know, this video. We're going to have it on YouTube. We can put it in the comments, this particular contact. And I text message it to people. Now, if you have an upline, if you're totally scared and you can't present and you feel like you're petrified and paralyzed, and you know, and you don't feel like you can do it, and you have an upline that can do it for you, great. If you have a video, that's kind of the second choice. And here's why I say that. It's the second choice because people don't take the time to watch anything anymore. It's just, if you roll through your stream on your phone, there's so much going on. When you ask somebody to go watch a video, you're competing against email, text message, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, LinkedIn, you know, maybe their favorite news feed. You're competing against somebody calling them. You're competing against TV, Amazon, Netflix. I mean, people have a lot of stuff going on, and now you're going to ask them to take 10 minutes out to watch. It's easier and more effective to actually present to them and take your presentation and condense it. And we talk about there's 5 areas that you should be able to present on: the company, the need in the marketplace, the product itself, the compensation, and the timing of what you're doing. Those are the 5 things you need to hit the good presentation. This particular call isn't about the presentation, but those are the 5 things you need to hit. You need to open with, do me a favor, you need to hit those 5 things. Here's our company, a little bit about the company and the history and when we started. Here's the need in the marketplace. This is why this is so needed. Here's the product itself that we actually market, or products we market and what they do. Guys, a couple words. Nobody needs the scientific description. Nobody needs the ingredient list usually, unless they ask for it. They say, hey, do you have an ingredient list? I can email it to you. Not I can tell you over the phone. I can email it to you. Here's the compensation, and here's the timing, and watch this. Here's what I'm personally looking for. I always say this. Here's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking for these 3 types of people. People who want our product, people who want to get in, or another person that would be a good referral source. If you know anybody that would like, I should show this to, that might know a lot of people or might have connections to the right people, those are the 3 people I want to know. Somebody who needs the product, somebody who's interested in working with us or wanted something part-time to do, that this would be cool, or number 3, anybody that I need to meet that would also be a good referral. Those are the 3 types of people I'm meeting. And then at the end, there's the closing. And this is another thing. If you don't write this down, I had a note card when I first started. I had a note card. Had the opening, had the presentation, and then it had the close. I read the close to people. I read it over and over and over and over again until I memorized it. You know, now that you saw everything that we do, A, you could refer me to somebody or help me out, and you will refer me to somebody if you ever run into them, or B, you have some interest in what we're doing. Where are you? Isn't that simple? A, B. Some people say A, B, C. Well, or no. Why would you actually give somebody the option to say, no, I'm not going to help you at all? Like that, they could say that, but why would you give that as an option? That doesn't make any sense. That's not being a good marketer. That's not being a good salesperson. That's not being confident. That's not being concise. That wouldn't make any sense. So this is kind of how we want to market it. A, you'd help me out and refer me, or B, you have some interest. Now, if they say, well, I do have some interest, now I can use, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, or I might ask, well, are you interested in the product or the product or actually the opportunity, or both? And they're like, well, both. I say, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, you know, you just, you know, kind of interested, or 10, you know, you're ready to like get started interested. Where are you? And then I let them tell me, and I say, great, I would like to get you some information on this now. Some more information. I would like to connect you to the right person now. This is where third party comes in. This is where your company video comes in. This is where your product video comes in. This is where your demo comes in. Why would you give away a ton of your stuff when the person isn't interested and is never going to look at it? Why would you throw stuff away like that? That doesn't make any sense. I would rather spend my time pre-qualifying people with this technique and then getting product in the hands of the people who are interested in the product. They're like, wow, that product, I know somebody who could use that product. Well, if I was able to give it to you, could you get it in their hand and give me their contact? Yeah, I'll give you the product. I'll give you the sample for free as long as they'll go try it, and I can get the number. And all I want is basically a testimonial. Did they like it? Was it good? What was it? This is the technique on how to get started. Now, watch this. If you talk to 10 people in 10 days yourself, what I can almost guarantee is you're going to get some weird positive result that you weren't expecting. You're going to get a sale. You're going to get a recruit. You're going to get somebody who you thought would not help you. They're going to lead you to somebody else. You're going to get a 11th presentation or a 12th presentation because of doing this. Now, if you up the ante, and what upping the ante is if you're more committed and you've messed around long enough and you want to knock this thing out and get this thing done, go from 10 presentations to 20. Number a list from 1 to 20, and every day put 2 names on the list that you talk to, that you present to, that you use this contact, you present to, and this is getting people started. Now, if you really want to knock it out of the park, imagine going to 40 presentations in 10 days. That's 4 people a day. I mean, in reality, if each one of the presentations is 10 minutes, and it takes you a couple minutes to get on the phone, a couple minutes to get off, you might work a total of an hour, hour and a half doing this. 4 people. Most people act like they're building their business, and here's what they do. The very first thing they do is they're nervous because they don't know what to say, don't know what to do. So they come home, and they organize their business cards. They get out their business cards and they organize them by color, and then they reorganize them by alphabet, and then they reorganize them by the people they're excited to talk to or not excited to talk to, and then they clean their desk, and then they make sure their pens are sharpened. You don't even sharpen pens. And then they make their notebooks in the right order, and they spend all this time worrying and excited and, you know, anxiety, and they feel like they're working, like, oh, I worked my business tonight for like 3 hours. I labeled all of my product with my phone number. And they feel like they work the business. The reality is the only time you're working your business is when you're doing what? When you're actually presenting to someone. To me, that's the only time you're working your business, when you're presenting to someone. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's why I've been able to recruit so many people. That's why we've taught people to recruit so many people. Now, if you're getting started and you present to these 10 people, you can do this on your own. The follow-up is, if they're interested in information, I either get them on the phone with somebody. If you have a great support team, that's awesome. If you don't have a support team, what I would suggest is finding 2 to 3 videos that are a condensed, concise presentation and or version of what you're already telling them, to give them a little bit more information to make the next step to getting in. If they are interested, if you get them the video, when you follow up with them, now that you've seen everything on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you? And they're like, I'm like an 8 or 9. Now here's the final. This is the ultimate closing question. Everybody's like, how do you close? Here's the ultimate closing question. Well, is there anything else you need to know before you get started? It sounds like a question. It doesn't even sound like a statement of trying to get them going. It's like, hey, is there anything else you need to know before you get started? It's assuming the sale. It's assuming they're getting started. It's assuming everybody's getting started. Hey, is there anything else you need to know about this before you got started? Because here's the thing. You're not making a life decision right now. So a lot of people kind of treat this like dating. But some people, when you're new, you try to get people to marry it the day they see it. You know, that you're talking about marriage and matrimony and buying a house and having 4 kids together, and people, that's too much. When I'm getting somebody started, I'm like, hey, you want to try this out? I mean, and people are like, oh my God, you used the word try? Yeah, because their commitment level is low. It's a low commitment level. It's not a big decision. The bigger a decision you make it for them, the slower they make that decision. Because big decisions, what are we told? We should take time to make big decisions. If you're going to buy a house, you should take some time. If you're going to change careers, you should take some time. If you're going to, invest all that money, you should take some time. But if it's a business and you're like, hey, this is something fun to do, it's something easy, it's something simple outside of everything else I do, you're not making the ultimate life decision. You're like, hey, does this sound like a good time? Is there anything else you need to know before you get rolling? And they go, well, I don't know. And here's the thing, when would be a good time to get started? Is it better to do it right now or on payday? The reason I always say it like that is because people don't want to let you know that they don't have any money. And most people just statistically live paycheck to paycheck. Most people live paycheck to paycheck. I have a friend that was really aggressive, and he used this technique. He's like, hey, the back of your credit card, he's like, the very back, is that strip on the back, is it brown or is it silver? And people are like, I don't know. He's like, well, he's like, well, check it. Check if the strip on the back of your credit card is brown. He's like, oh, well, mine's brown. And he's like, oh, let me see that. Is that the one you want to use? I mean, that's aggressive. I don't do that. But I watch people do it, and it works. That's not how I do it. What I do is I say, hey, would it be better to get started now or, on payday? Do you have the ability to put it on a credit card if you want to do it now, or is payday better just to pay for it in cash, depending on how they get started? So that's how I get people started, 10 people in 10 days. Here's the cool thing. I say, look, if you're scared to talk to them, I'll do the presentation. All I need is the introduction. Here's how you're going to introduce them. Hey, Jim, I want to introduce you to a good friend of mine, Jeff. We're working on a project together. Would you do me a huge favor and hear out what we're working on, so if you run into the right person, you could refer them? That's the text message that goes out jointly between me. I have them jointly do it. Like if Brandy, I'm just going to use Brandy as an example. Let's say Brandy's a brand new recruit. I'm scared to death. I'm brand new. But I want to introduce Bess to Brandy because Brandy's somebody I know I want to recruit. So what I do is I tie the text message together, 3 people, and I'll actually text Bess, hey, Bess, this is a good friend of mine, Brandy, and I was wondering, I wanted to introduce you guys. We're working on a project together. Could you please give her a kind of a quick overview on what we do, so if she ran into the right person, you could refer them? All of a sudden, Bess and Brandy start talking on chat, and I'm watching it happen on my phone, and I haven't said a single thing. Guys, you can get anybody started. In fact, you can contact people so fast doing this. I'm just going to pull up my phone here real quick. And actually, some people choose Facebook Messenger, which works as well. But I'm just going to put Jennifer. Because Jennifer, one of my team, has done this several times. I got to do it like this. Jennifer and Lisa, Jennifer and Nicole, Jennifer and Sarah, Jennifer and Casey. Go back here a little bit further. Jennifer and Kelly, Jennifer and Bethany, Jennifer and Debop. It's a different name. So she's contacted 8 people all through Messenger, and I've gotten them through text message. She's a brand new recruit on the team, and she's introduced me to half a dozen people. She's never said a word about what we're doing. Now, I'm able to follow up, get in contact with the person, present to them, help my new recruit get a new person. And in some cases, a friend of mine did the exact same thing. We're going to probably sign up this guy before my friend gets back from his vacation, and he doesn't even know he's getting a new recruit, and the new recruit's coming on a team. That's the kind of thing that we're able to do and help people out with. So with that, I'm going to turn this back over to Bess to wrap up. I appreciate everybody for jumping on. I hope you got some stuff out of this. I hope you got some, things. I hope you got some belief, if anything else, to know that you could do this. I screwed it all up. I messed up for years and years and years in the beginning, but once I finally got this right, I was able to go through people so fast and so easily with no objections, with no people like, what do you say to people who say this is a pyramid? I never get that. What do you say to people who say these things are scams? I never get that. You know why? Because I'm not coming after them to recruit them. I'm coming them to tell them about what I do and get the referral. That's what I'm looking for. Bess?
Okay. So why is getting people started right and fast important? Because most new network marketers quit within the first 2 months. So all your hard work of getting there, you don't want to lose them. You want to treat them good. You want to help them get results real fast. That means get their first customer, their first distributor, their first check, get their starter investment money back, maybe within the first week or 2. So show them how to do these things. They're not going to leave then. They're going to become, okay, now I've got some traction going on. And this sending out 10 texts, ending up with a customer distributor, how easy is that? Jeff, is that 10 texts or 10 presentations? They would average 1 or 2 customers or distributors.
What I found is it's 10 presentations. You can send out text messages, but you have to get on the phone with them. Once you've done 10 presentations, I found it's pretty simple out of 10. You start either you're going to get a recruit, you're going to get a customer, or you're going to get a referral to somebody else that you can talk to.
Okay, thank you. So it really is, I call them the P's, just to shorten it. It's how many P's you do a day. That's where the rubber meets the road, and that's when I coach people and lead them through challenges. I don't really care how many people they talked to or called or anything like that. I care about how many P's they did that day. And they have to decide if they're doing a challenge, it's 10 P's a day. But like Jeff said, you could do, 1, 2, or 4, depending on what speed and what rate you want to go. But really, 2 a day is really necessary to keep ahead of attrition. So that's what I recommend people to do, is to challenge themselves and their team. Whoever wants to be in the two presentations a day club, let's do this. And you can use each other for accountability for that too. So to be able to start people right, it must be simple, it must be duplicatable, and Jeff's scripts are all of this. Fast really is the theme nowadays, much more. When I used to be a full-time network marketer for years and helped me raise my son as a single mom. Back then it was much slower. There was not the internet, the social media. I had to buy my product from the company, store it in my house, and ship it to people, believe it or not, a long time ago. So everything's moving so much quicker now. You need to be quick as well to compete with the other people and not lose your people to another team or another distributor. some people want to know how to do their 10-minute presentation. You know, it should include those 5 things that we mentioned. That is in the Yes book. And you can get that information from your company's website. Make sure everything that you're saying is compliant with your company. No claims that your company wouldn't allow you to make. And some people have come to Jeff or me personally to really hone their 10-minute presentation, because really the effectiveness and the results hinge on that. So we'd be glad to help you privately if you want. It kind of is an art to make it compelling, to make it really interesting, to where, you know, that 10 minutes goes by and they don't even know it. So they're really involved in what you're saying. You turn the whole thing into a story, and you tell all those 5 parts in the form of your story about you and your company and the need and the product and the comp plan, real simply, and the timing. And you're telling them this, but it's all in the form of a story, so it's really cool. So we can help people do that. That's in the book. What else? Oh, the people who have signed up, a bunch of people have jumped onto this class today, and I will be contacting you about club information, membership information, and logins and passwords and all that stuff. So we'll get you rolling on that.
Awesome. With that, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. If you have questions for either one of us, you can find us online. Also, we're going to get started again tomorrow. For those of you who want to join us, a generic training, leadership training. We're going to go over the 21 laws of leadership again starting tomorrow. It's going to be July 2nd, but for the month of July, we'll be able to get in all 21 laws of leadership. I know people missed a couple of them and are like, man, I wish I would have gotten to the first one. So we're going to get that started tomorrow. That happens at noon. If you would like to be part of that, that is something we're doing for free. It's just to give back, answer questions about leadership pertaining to network marketing, not any particular company, not any particular product, but just network marketing in general, building leadership, knowing what to do and how to do it. That comes on at noon Eastern Standard Time. It is a Facebook Live. We do record all those, and we are putting them up online. So with that being said, appreciate everybody for, jumping on.
One more thing. You can find that, the lunchtime leadership shows at noon. You can find it on the Facebook group called the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. Completely free, open to everybody, bring your team. It's jam-packed. People are loving it, and it's different than this. It delves into the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. And Jeff happens to be a certified Maxwell trainer, so that's where you go.
Awesome. Guys, we're wrapping it up. I appreciate everybody for jumping on. Again, let us know your greatest takeaway, what you liked best about this. Put that on our page, put that on our comment, or instant message us. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much.